Hey you all. So it's me again. I would like for everyone to like this video and subscribe. Do both of those things. If you get to the end and you don't like what I say, you can unlike it. Fine, that's okay. But just like it first, so that way by the time the video's over, you don't forget. Okay. All right. So what I wanted to talk about today was something I just had on my mind, and I watched a video from Vice, and it was basically talking about uh, a white guy that goes to Morehouse. And I watched it. I tried to stay objective, but I feel like, no, don't do that. And I feel like places like Morehouse were started because Black people were not allowed to go to the same colleges as other white people. So they're here, and now the HBCUs have turned somewhat to like a safe space for Black people to be. So they're not there, Black people today, like, they go because they know they're going to be around a community of other people that they feel like they can relate to. They have something in common, which is their race. They feel like they have similar experiences because they're Black, like, they're encouraged, they're uplifted in relation to their Blackness, taught to be confident people, all these things. So when you have a white student come into that for the sake of education, like, this school was not only set up purely for education, but now speaks to, it gives people leave with a certain esteem about themselves because of who they are, because of that school that they went to. And it's not just, I'm going there to get an education because this is the best school. Like, just HBCUs represent a lot, okay? And so I feel like for a white person to come in and say they're coming in just to have an education, I feel like that's kind of taking advantage of a situation that they don't need to be there, okay? And so this is not to say, like, white people shouldn't be able to go to school with Black people. I'm not saying anything like that. Really what I'm trying to say is that this is a sacred space, and it's like a safe space for people. And when that safe space is violated, that's a problem. And even if Black people, they're going to be nice to him. Of course they were nice to him. Of course he made friends, because Black people they can be friendly people. We don't have it in us to be evil, like, all day, every day, So I just feel like you can't, I just feel like it's kind of intruding in a way into that safe space. Another thing that bothered me is when that he was talking with all his other friends and stuff, and he was saying that what did he say? He was saying his friends were saying that, they didn't really know him. They didn't know if they could trust him when they first met him, but they ended up talking to him and stuff. And somebody mentioned that, like, now that I saw him, I was thinking maybe I could be able to change his mind on some things. And I feel like that at a HBCU, it's inappropriate to go there, and now you're also put in the position to have to teach a white person something that they can Google on their own. Or this said white person could go to a school, a PWI, and be with other a PWI and just, like, talk to, like, ask them questions, but you came into a Black sacred space, and people, just your presence there has automatically made people feel responsible for your perception of them. And I just feel like that's all the more reason why white people don't need to be going to HBCUs. Also, and I think this is going to be my last point, which this might end up being a short video, but Also, I feel like Black people go through a lot just as Black people existing in the world, and we create those safe spaces for ourselves to be able to have a sense of community. Women do that in certain spaces, and I don't know of it, but I have not heard of this happening. But I feel like white um, allies don't really have a safe space to go to feel like they can be like by what am I trying to say? Like they don't I feel like when I've talked to certain white people that say, oh, well, I want to understand, what's going on and I want to be an ally and I want to be this, it seems like they're always going into spaces with people of color. They're always coming into sacred spaces for Black people to try to fit in, to try to prove that they're not a bad person. And I feel like that is a problem. Like these Black people or people of color should be able to have their spaces and talk amongst themselves without having to always advocate or prove themselves or explain things to white people. It's not something that has to be a bad thing that they're doing, but I feel like white people need a space to come together to be able to have those conversations amongst themselves, because they come into Black spaces and want to talk about social justice and different things like that. Sometimes it's not always the time. Sometimes it might feel awkward. They might feel out of place. I know some white people that feel like they don't like being white because they know everything bad that happens to Black people. They know what their people have done to basically the whole world, and they're ashamed to call themselves white because they don't want to be associated with that. And so I feel like white people need to create spaces for themselves to be allies, so they don't have to say, oh, well, the only way that I know that I can learn how to be a good person is if I'm around other Black people, if I have Black people teaching me, if I invade this space because they're going to be nice to me, or they need to be nice to me since we all want peace. Like they're kind of asserting this sense of entitlement without even knowing, and I feel like if they just kind of create communities amongst themselves to really hold each other accountable and to just, exist and love on themselves in a way that's different from what white people have been doing in the past, like doing it in a way that does not promote violence to Black people or other minorities. I think that they need their own space to do that, because when they come into Black spaces, they get confused. Like, why don't these people like me? Why they're not talking to me? Why aren't they listening to me? It's like Black people not gonna listen to you. They ain't never gonna listen to you because you ain't got nothing to tell them. You don't have anything to tell them. So, if you want to create a space, it doesn't need to be a whites only, space to have it. I'm just giving a suggestion of something that I see is a need, and I'm not going to go out of my way to provide that need because I don't feel like that's my job, but I see that it's a problem, and that white people are invading, sacred spaces or just places that Black people come to just be themselves, to try to prove their sense of humanity and say that, I'm a white person, but I'm a good white person. Like you just show your goodness by how you are. You don't have to go around and proving it. You don't have to join a Black student union organization to do that. But if there are other like-minded people like you, I feel like that can kind of create a community of people where they can hold each other accountable. They don't have to feel insecure around their white people. They don't have to feel insecure around their Black friends that's not going to accept them because they're still white, or something like that. So I think white people that feel like that they're trying to find a place to fit in and not be problematic, I feel like they should just create a space amongst themselves so they can hold each other accountable and still feel like they have a sense of community. Because I understand, like, you don't really want to be accepted by other white people because you feel like they've done terrible things, or they're terrible people. And Black people aren't really on board with you just coming in. So I think that those spaces should be created by white people that want to do that, because Black people are not really here to kind of teach white people how to do right. So that's my 2 cents. And I hope I said that right, because I'm not saying that like it should be like a whites only group. I'm not saying that. Like if a person of color wants to join and talk to them and help them, I think that the dialogue should be open. But I feel like white people should have a space where they can dissect some things, like where they can really work out some things without forcing a black person or a person of color to teach you what it is. I think they need a space to do digging without judgment, so they can really get their stuff together. Like, we've all been here once. I'm gonna just assume that all of us have only been here one time. This is our first time living life, and people need assistance, they want support, and I understand it can be difficult, and I understand that it can be frustrating, but that entitlement needs to go out the window. Black people don't care about you feeling entitled to come into their spaces. They're going to be nice to you, you know, because some black people are just nice people. But I just feel like there needs to be something set up for white people to hold each other accountable on their racism, for them to feel like they can exist in their own bodies and be an ally and don't have to denounce, you know, who they are as an individual. Like, you're gonna have to take accountability for the shit your people did, you know, but I just kind of see it like it's sad. Like, them as an individual hasn't gotten us to the state that we're in. They're just existing in the state that we're in, and they can be perpetuating those stereotypes. They have white privilege or doing all those things. So I just think that maybe I shouldn't even be given a suggestion, because what if somebody does it and it ends up being like a whole like terrible thing that is not what I'm saying, you know, should happen. But a space for white people to hold each other accountable on their racism, on their patriarchal ideas, on their capitalism, on the systems that they put in place, and how all of them are like maybe might be against those systems. They're not anti-black. They're out here really just trying to be. They need places to work through these things without making a black person responsible for how you feel, or putting it on a person of color to teach you and to just constantly be in service to you because you don't know where else to go. Figure out a place to go and hold yourself accountable on the things that you say you want to be a part of. If you're a white person and you want to be good, then do that. And then find other white people that want to be good, that are on your wavelength, that are not taking that racist stuff, that are not taking that homophobic stuff. They are good people trying to be good, working through their mess. You know, y'all get it together. You know, don't sit here and play this and act like you're incapable of handling things on your own, that you need somebody to teach you, need somebody to spoon feed you. That's not fair to the people of color that ain't got time. That didn't come here to be a teacher, you know. It's not fair all the time. Even though the black person might want to do it, they might be okay with talking to you about it. There needs to be some accountability for yourself. And white people, they need to hold each other accountable if they're really about this. You know, no racists, no fascists, no homophobes, no fat phobia, all that stuff. If that's really what y'all are about, then do that without making black people responsible for your humanity. You know, they already working through their own thing by themselves, and now they gotta sit here and pretend like they don't see color, or have conversations where we just love and smile and pat each other on the back. It's like, no, if you need somebody to hold you accountable, if you need somebody to think through these things through, then find some white people that can hold you accountable. Allow Black people to come into those spaces if they so choose, but don't stop invading Black spaces to feel secure or because you feel like you're entitled to go wherever you want to go and be in whatever space you want to be in. No, figure it out yourself. If you can't figure it out yourself, create a group of allies with you that are willing to help you, but don't invade Black spaces to do that, because that's not what they're there for. That's all.